Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to discuss the biggest issues that the game has, issues which I believe are hurting the game and might eventually lead to a major decline unless they are fixed. Everything you're about to hear is coming from someone who has played this game for almost 1000 hours, and I have played a ton of similar games, so this is coming purely from experience. I hope this video reaches the developers of the game and they take action on some of this feedback, because I really like this game a lot and I would hate to see it die down in a couple of months, especially when it has a ton of potential. I have to say that the game does a lot of things right, such as combat, world design, RPG elements and more, but it has too many glaring issues which should not be there and are also easily fixable. I think the first major issue is too much focus on social activities and cosmetic rewards. In this game, 90% of the activities you can complete do not actually feel rewarding and they are very shallow. The majority of the rewards you can obtain from the new events or various role-playing activities such as joining a sect consist of cosmetics or other items related to fashion. Now, there's nothing wrong with having fashion content and rewards in the game, but the problem comes when 90% of your content is all revolved around fashion and cosmetics. There are of course players who enjoy collecting various costumes and hero titles and so on, but what about the players who care more about combat and progression? It's pretty clear that the developers spent a lot of time designing the combat system and the progression system, which are great, but at the end of the day there is almost no content that makes use of both of them at their full potential. Almost all the events and activities in the game are actually social events or fetch quests, and most of the time there are very little character progression rewards you can obtain from them. There is almost no content that requires you to use your build and your combat skills besides PvP. Of course, there's nothing wrong with social events, I enjoy them as well, but when it's literally all you're getting for a whole month, it's not good. The problem with all of these social or role-playing activities in the game is that they're also very shallow and non-rewarding. Most of them are done in less than 5 minutes, then you have to do it again, for example wrestling, or bounties or playing mahjong with other players. The majority of the rewards you get from these events consist of some random currency with which you can buy more cosmetics or small amounts of coins. My suggestion for the developers is to have more activities and more events that reward us with inner way node chests, gear chests, coins and other upgrade materials, and more events that focus around PvE or even PvP combat. Now you might ask, why can't I just go and farm gear and materials to progress my character? Why don't I just play PvE content which revolves around combat such as Sword Trial or Hero's Realm? This is where the second major issue comes, and that is the energy system. Now I understand the general idea behind an energy system in a video game to create artificial engagement and ensure that players never run out of content. The problem is, this type of system is clearly designed from a business point of view and not a player experience point of view. There are basically zero benefits for the players when you implement an energy system. First of all, you are preventing players from playing the game how much they want to, which is already the worst design choice you can make. Instead of having mastery-based progression, you now have calendar-based progression, which is less satisfying for the players. Why spend time designing complex progression systems if we can only progress a tiny amount each day due to these limitations that you are implementing? How am I supposed to enjoy the great combat system when I can't do combat more than 5 minutes per day due to the energy system limitations? There is a limit of 550 energy and you get 180 energy per day. If you do one sword trial boss and claim the triple reward, you are consuming 180 energy and it takes only 5 minutes. That's literally the only thing you can do in a whole day with your energy, one run of sword trial. Hero's Realm doesn't require energy to claim rewards and is very difficult to complete as well, so you would think that you should be able to farm it repeatedly, right? Wrong. You can only do it once per week to claim the rewards. What is even the point of having an endgame raid mode with 10 players if you can only do it once per week? It literally makes no sense to me. I don't enjoy PvP, it's not rewarding, I just want to do PvE content and progress my character. But guess what? I can't do any of that more than 5 minutes per day, because that's how long it takes me to consume all of my daily energy. What is even there to do in this game after you spend all of your daily energy? Pretty much nothing. Nothing besides, of course, social activities and events that reward you with mostly cosmetic items. I understand that another so-called advantage of the energy system is to cater to casual players who don't have much time to play, but this is a problem that must be resolved in some other way. Why are you punishing dedicated players that want to play your game for many hours per day just to keep them at the same level as all other players? How am I supposed to get a sense of progression through gameplay if you are only letting me play 5 minutes per day toward progressing my character? My suggestion for the developers is to either remove the energy system completely, which is probably impossible at this point, or simply give us one single game mode where we can repeatedly farm for gear, inner way nodes and materials. I think the most suitable game mode for this would be the Hero's Realm, because it's actually hard to complete and it takes time and effort. Just allow us to claim unlimited rewards from it, and this would also encourage players to spend more time in multiplayer content, which would be great. Personally, I don't care about the majority of the cosmetics items from the events. Why? Because they look pretty mediocre compared to the cosmetics in the store. I would rather just wait until I get a cool legendary costume and just wear a random one until then, than spend all of this time doing various boring activities to get some random cosmetics. This leads us to the next major issue, which is the cosmetic aspect and monetization. Now listen, I get it, it's a free-to-play game and it's super high quality, so they need a strong monetization system to make up for it. It's also the only non-pay-to-win free-to-play game I've ever seen, so I really appreciate them for that. However, the fact that I've been playing this game for 3 months non-stop every day, participated in every single event and even bought all the premium battle passes, and I still don't have a single legendary harmonic costume, is a bit ridiculous. I think the PT system needs a major revamp, or they need to give us more harmonic cores to exchange for costumes. Can you actually believe that we had the holiday season and New Year's celebration and we didn't get a single harmonic core or legendary costume? Not to mention that 9 Mortal Ways event, which tricked us into thinking we're getting a free harmonic core, which was a slap in the face. I managed to pull one harmonic core last month, and now I still have 75 draws left until a guaranteed legendary, so I'm still at least 1 month away from getting the legendary costume that I want. I read that free-to-play China players only get like 3 guaranteed PT draws per year, which seems a bit too low. The fact that they made these costumes so much better looking than all the other costumes from all the events just makes it even harder to care for any cosmetic reward, and most of them are also just recolored versions of existing costumes. Even the Battle Pass costumes which we pay for are pretty mediocre. Another major issue is related to the gear system and the upgrading system. There is way too much RNG in the gear farming system and too many limitations when it comes to min-maxing and upgrading gear. Ever since they have introduced the legendary rarity, I noticed that it takes a very long time to get a full set of 8 legendary gear pieces. This is of course another consequence of the energy system, but you can't have both systems in the same game. You can't have an energy system which limits how much gear we can farm, but then you also have insane RNG, which makes it very difficult to get legendary gear pieces. On average, I get about 2 legendary gear pieces from 18 legendary gear chests. The problem is that you need 8 different legendary pieces and there's a high chance you're getting duplicate items. For example, I've been playing an umbrella build for about 1 week now and I'm still missing 2 legendary pieces despite farming for gear daily. This is annoying because I can't start upgrading my gear until I get all the legendary pieces. Why? Because I would be wasting my coins, which are also capped on how many you can farm. Upgrading gear requires tuning materials, including other gear pieces and large amounts of coins. The problem? You are capped on how many coins you can farm because of the energy system and because of the weekly coin cap, which is only 175,000, which is extremely low. Besides being capped on how many gear pieces you can farm and being capped on how many coins you can farm to upgrade your gear, there is also a massive RNG system when upgrading your gear. All the attributes that can roll on a gear piece are completely random. You can't control what attributes you get, and most of them are useless for your specific build. Realistically speaking, any build will need at most 7 or 8 specific attributes, and there are more than 20 attributes that can randomly roll on any gear piece. Now, of course, there is no problem with having this type of RNG, but when you combine it with the energy system, gear drop RNG and coins limitation, you get a system which makes it almost impossible to get a full set of 8 gear pieces, all with perfect stats on them. Why even bother creating such a deep gear system in the first place? In the latest update, they finally added a method to reroll one tuning and one attunement attribute on your gear, but of course they messed up again by implementing some crazy limitations to how much you can do that. You can only reroll one tuning and 2 attunement attributes per week. Yes, you heard that right, only 3 total stats reroll per week. What is even the thought process behind a decision like that? Why are you trying to limit what you can do so much? My suggestion for the developers is to make the retuning and alteration materials be farmable in Campaign Challenge, Hero's Realm and Sword Trial, just like the attunement stones. It makes literally zero sense to only have them in the Battle Pass shop. There are 8 gear pieces in total, and assuming they all have perfect stats -1, it will still take you 2 months to reroll all the stats on each of your gear pieces. By that time, the next level breakthrough comes and makes your entire gear set useless. This leads us into the next and final major issue, which is the level breakthrough. I can perfectly understand the idea behind this system, which is to align the character progression with the addition of major new content expansions, but the way it's implemented right now just makes no sense, because it's punishing the players instead of helping them. Whenever a level breakthrough happens, because your gear is capped based on a level breakthrough, new higher tiers of gear will become available, making your current gear of the previous tier completely useless. Yes, we have the arsenal system where we can add gear to get a stat boost, but it's only a small boost compared to the effort we put into our gear. Why am I even spending time and effort min-maxing my build, getting the best possible stats if it all becomes useless in a couple of weeks? Why did you spend time developing this gear system which requires min-maxing and a ton of upgrading if you're going to constantly make the players throw their entire gear set away every month? It's just a baffling design choice for me. I don't understand why they couldn't implement a system that would allow us to raise the tier of our gear to keep up with the latest content. All of these systems would not be an issue if there wasn't for the energy system, because then you would just farm your gear set back up in a few days. The way these systems exist right now, it just feels like a major contradiction between them. You're telling me I can't farm more than 18 gear pieces per day and I can't reroll more than 3 stats per week, but then in 1 month you're taking away all of my gear and making me start all over again? Why? Just remove the weekly coin cap, which will make players play more social events than they do now, add the retuning and alteration materials as regular drops from the endgame modes, and give us one game mode where we can farm gear and coins infinitely. If you want to still cater to casual players as well, simply add some type of catch-up mechanics in the game to allow them to progress faster. There is nothing wrong with more dedicated players being ahead of casual players, it's natural. You are supposed to reward people for playing the game and having more experience, not punish them by preventing them from progressing. Not to mention that because of the energy system limitations, paired with the level breakthrough system, there can be huge discrepancies between players that have been putting in the same amount of time in the game. One player can roll almost perfect stats on their first gear set after a level breakthrough, while another player can get the worst possible rolls, which makes the first player perform 100 times better in almost all content, while the other player is stuck with a garbage build and they can do anything to change that. Here's another thought. What is the point of designing such a huge open world if there is almost no reason to do combat in the open world? Make the enemies in the open world have good gear drops or good material drops to give us a reason to explore and kill enemies around the map, instead of just chasing insects and finding random chests. I honestly think all the issues I have listed are some of the major reasons for people quitting the game. This game is clearly very well made, it's one of the best games I've ever played, but there are some design decisions which make no sense and they are hurting the game more than they are helping. Hopefully the developers are already working on changing some of these things and the game will get better when the next major content update comes, before it's too late. What are some things that you think the game is doing wrong and what changes would you propose to make the game better? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.